Thank you, Voices, and thank you, Richard. Good morning.
Good morning.
Habits are easily formed. I have been away, and I practice being away, and now I feel I should be away. But I am here, and I realize that where can I flee from God? Wherever I am, God is. Psalm 139 and verse 7 says, "Whither shall I flee from thy spirit? Or whither shall I flee from thy presence?" It continues to say, "If I go up to heaven, thou art there. And if I go down to the bottom or the depths of the sea, thou art there." A platform is a space on which you can launch things from, or you can build things on. A mental platform is a belief system on which your entire life is based. We have been given so many platforms to base our lives on. It is no wonder sometimes we endure misery out of the conflicts that we mentally have within ourselves. I like to think of it this way, that mind is the creator of everything I have in my life. And I constantly ask myself, what is the basis for my creations? What is the platform on which I create? For most of us, when we were little children, we were herded into rooms and given information. That early information that we received have helped to build the platforms on which most of us live our lives today. We are told so many things about the Word God that in practice, day to day, that word has become an albatross that hangs over our needing to improve our lives and move. Sometimes when we want to grow and we know that we should grow, that word stands out that God would not want it that way for us. And we stop trying to grow. Because some of the concepts we have learned about God is God is an avenging God. That God has likes and dislikes. That God would punish and God judges you every minute of the day. So many of us live out of fear of punishment. We also have been taught that God discriminates, that God loves some people and not others. And yet still we are told in the first part of Genesis, in the beginning God the Creator created it all. And when God was finished the creating process, God saw that everything that God made was good. So then how come we worship and celebrate a God that discriminates, separates, and practices apartheid? That doesn't make sense to me. We come back and then we say that God is love. And yet still we are told that those people over there who are practicing things that might be different to the way we practice things, God can't be in their life. And the psalmist tells us, wherever I go, God is there. So you have to ask yourself, does what I think of God is God? That what I formed around the word God, is that really God? And does God work according to my expectation? If you build a platform on fear, you will never grow. If you build a platform on faith, you realize that every picture you hold in your mind is possible. And most of us have built a platform based on fear. And fear paralyzes, and fear stops us from expressing the very word we call God, because God is life. And when we allow our thoughts of God to get between what God is and ourselves, we become myopic, judgmental, full of anger, full of hate, and seeking vengeance. There is but one substance of which everything is made in the universe. You may call it God. You may call it a word in your language, your native language, or the cultural background that you came from. There is only one substance, energy, pure spirit, of which everything is made. It is unseen, but it's ever present. It is the beginning of everything. And we cannot describe it because we do not know what it is. All we can say, I live because it lives as me. There's only one substance. Substance means to stand under. There is only one platform on which I live. I can call it God. I can call it universal mind, universal intelligence. I could call it the divine. I could call it spirit. I could call it energy, intelligence. I could call it whatever I need to call it. But I know whatever I called it, it is more than that. And in order to experience the more than that, I need to be constantly transforming my mind by thinking a new thought about the same thing I thought about yesterday in order to experience it differently. I have the power to name and to give character and to give the moving parts to that which is God. I see God out of my own narrow consciousness. And if I am not willing to grow my consciousness, I will never see more than I see today and experience more than I have today. This substance, this presence, is the only power operating in the universe. It is the only source and ability in you and I. For of ourselves we can do nothing. It is the spirit or the energy in us that animates and gives movement to every part of my being. I can do nothing without it. And when I think about it, I realize my mind is the key. That's where I conceive the ideas about this presence and power that I call God. And whatever I perceive it to be and accept it to be, it will work its way for me according to my understanding of it. So what should I do? I should always be in a mental state for growth, realizing that this substance, this idea, whatever it is, it's infinite. And because I am a part of it, my intellect is also infinite, and I can grow by thinking a new thought every minute of the day and move on. That's how simple it is. When I open my mind to the possibility that I can create more by thinking more, I am never limited. The only limits that I have are the limits I think I have. And because thinking is the way in which I grow, I try every day to think a new thought about myself, about this presence and power. And the more I do that is the more I expand. That presence and power cannot expand. I need to expand. My life needs to be expanded so that I could experience a little more of it every day. Because every day is an opportunity given to me to come to know a little more of myself and a little more of what I call God. We are all expressions, manifestations, whatever you call it, of the same source. At the root of our being is what we call God. We cannot live without God. We cannot separate ourselves from God. God is like the water, and I am the wetness in the water. If you take away the water, there is no wetness. I am like a wave in the ocean. Take away the ocean, there are no waves. I'm like a storm in the atmosphere. Take away the atmosphere, there are no storms. I operate in God. When you begin to think this way, you realize that God is always seeking to express itself through you. And you make yourself available to expand. When you realize that every person that you meet on the planet Earth has the same basic root as yourself, you get to realize that the only thing that separates us are the thoughts we hold and the beliefs that come forth from those thoughts. When you get to realize that all of us are made of the same substance, liberation comes. That wherever you go, you are amongst friends, not enemies. God did not create enemies. You create them. Because you have the power to separate and differentiate. when you realize that all the enemies in your life are there because they don't measure up to your expectations, and you realize a slight shift in your thinking can correct things, you stop working with your enemies and you start working with yourself. Isn't that beautiful? You stop working with your enemies and start working with yourself, and your enemies are transformed to be your friends. Just like your friends are transformed to be your enemies as we go through life. The same ability that I have, you also have as a potential. But I develop my abilities based on my needs, and so do you. Whatever you have need of, you will have a fixation on to fulfill. And as you do that, the energies necessary and the talents and skills necessary to cause you to fulfill whatever you are seeking to fulfill will be lifted up. Because whatever you focus on will be focused on you. We are all the same, having the same potentiality to be great and powerful as those who you admire to be great and powerful. The only thing keeping us back is what we think about God and what we think about ourselves. You see, a lot of us blame God when we are not achieving because we say, God didn't want that for me. It's a nice excuse to say, I ain't going to do anything about it because I'm just lazy. Sometimes these words want to come out because I learned them in school. And there are other words that I learned too, but I wouldn't say them here. We live and move and have our being always in God. I want you to get that. God is that universal sphere of pure energy, spirit. And we are part of it, having our lives, experiences in it and through it. So we don't have to pray and ask God to come into our lives. God is already our life. God is life. So when I pray, my prayer has to be, Lord, teach me how to use you in me to manifest you in me. I don't have to beg Lord Jesus to come to me. God is the central essence, always with me. If God is not in me, I am nowhere. I don't exist. Because I can't exist without God. And God has given us the power to be. The power is in our hands. Do you realize how powerful you are? That the power to be, to become, to grow, to express, to expand is in us. Right here, right now. That every one of us is a powerful being with all of God being, seeking to express in and through us right here, right now. Because there's no separation. Spirit is not partitioned. All of spirit contains all of spirit wherever you are, wherever you go. There's no separation. All that is in the ocean is in a glass of water drawn from the ocean. Hello now. All of the ocean is in that little thimble full of water from the ocean. In the same way, all of God is in us already, not waiting to come next year. Is in us right now, waiting for us to recognize that and to begin to use what God is in us. We have been taught to go to teachers for whatever we have need of. But I want you to know, the teacher is already within you. Open your mind and see and hear the good news that God has for you. No one can teach you anything. They can give you the information that causes you to open up your mind to accept it and experience it. Because to educate is to draw out from within that which is already there. I can open your mind, help you open your mind to come to see, but I could never help you see. You have to come to the point to accept that wherever you are, all of God is with you. And as you begin to start using God, you could make changes in your life. You don't need love to come into your life. Love is already a part of you. Wow, isn't that powerful? Therefore, you are no longer a servant or dependent on anyone that you say you love. The greatest love lies within. When you begin to love yourself, the entire universe rushes in like the wind that gathers to make a storm. And something happens. You don't depend on outside forces anymore. You know that wherever you are, love is there, and I love myself. And therefore, I love the entire universe. See, we can't love someone else unless we learn to love ourselves. We cannot love ourselves unless we realize who and what we are. That we are love itself, looking to express itself. And we can only express ourselves based on what we think love is and think who we are. Who are you? An expression of God. And in this expression of God, all the qualities of God are in you. When you realize that, a transforming moment occurs and you transcend to another level because you begin to operate out of a knowing that the best is yet to come, because as you open up and begin to grow, you come to realize new things about yourself, and there's this progression that says you got to keep going. There's no more stopping. Life wants to live itself through you. You have the power to heal already within you. The doctor may open up your mind to healing possibility. You have to heal yourself because the healer is within you. The healer does not come to you. The healer is in you. Open your mind. Open your mind. The biggest problem that we face is xenophobia. Fear of anything that is different. That is our problem. Because we believe in separation, that there is God and then there is me. There's a partition. That same partition we place between God and self, we place between people and self. We are taught to hate. We are taught to discriminate. We are taught to separate because we haven't yet understood our very nature. That wherever I am, God is. Whoever is there is also an aspect of God, coming from God, living in God, expressing in God differently. But the common source is God. When I realize that whoever is there with me, whether color-wise, race-wise, tribe-wise, political party-wise, religion-wise, they are all elements of God in my midst that I am supposed to love, then my world opens up and I can find peace and joy. The only thing separating me from you is what I think about you. And because I've been conditioned to see things as shadows and colors and heights and judge things out of their natural context, I hate. For no reason I hate you. Just because I look at you and I could see you, I hate you. Just because of what I think you look like. Isn't that interesting? I hate what you do without seeing what you do. Because they say what you do should not be done. I have not examined what you do, but I just know what you do makes you what I think it makes you. Is that sad? That we go through life hating more than loving? And we have authority to declare this group as bad. Why? Because I am the judge, I am the jury of everything that lives. Isn't that interesting? And bias is so self-conscious that we could work with people for 50 years and hate them. But we need the money. And there's a word we like to use, is tolerate. Well, I tolerate them. The fear of differences create separation, create hatred, anger, violence. As we look around the globe, all the problems come out of that hate for differences. Based on a single belief. Not realizing that all beliefs are false, they're not true. And most of the beliefs that we walk around with, we have accepted without examining. Because I'm pretty sure if we spend time and examine them, we will laugh. Because sometimes as you grow up, You get to realize why your grandmother used to cook the fish and cut it in 10 different pieces because the pot was small. And now you could get bigger pots, you could use the whole fish. Simple practices that you saw as a child, you hold to be true, not true. No street lights. Wind and trees in the night. You see Casper roam in the streets. Ain't true. But at 65, you still believe they are Caspers. And at Christmas time, you call Casper Santa Claus. Our beliefs are not true. They are framed in ignorance and held without examination. And our beliefs bring about the conflicts in our lives, the conflicts in the world, the unhappiness, and we live in. There is but one presence operating in my life and your life. When I realized that by seeking to, a lot of people take classes, get the information to pass the exam, to get the certificate, but they don't practice. Information not used is like stale food held in the stomach, and when you get to go to that test that you take, food that was eaten 2 years ago still inside. Never used. That's why you're so sick physically. You're not taking in, digesting, appropriating, and releasing. Same thing that goes physically goes mentally. You got to be able to take in and use wisdom and understanding, reject, put into practice. If it doesn't work, release it and be willing to take in more. The same ability that I have to renounce, to reject, and to forgive is the same that you have. But anything that you hold in for too long constricts and restricts and causes dis-ease. Diseases don't come from outside. They are manufactured from inside. The book Talks in Truth tells us that every negative thought we think helps to form organisms in our bodies that help to destroy our bodies. Think about it. Every time you hold a belief that is negative and untrue, you are killing yourself. And the person that you don't like, living longer than you. And they have to come and visit you and bring oranges for you. Think about it. That you are the thinker. You think the thoughts that make your life and the things occurring in your life. And just think about it for a moment. If you could build your life on a platform that says, wherever I am, good is, God is there. And God is the same here, there, and everywhere. The same God that was yesterday is the same God that will be tomorrow. And the nature of this God is absolute good. Wherever I am, everything is good. And rest. And see the salvation that will happen in your life. Come to that place that you could say like the psalmist, where can I go from spirit? I tried it and it didn't work. I went to the rock to hide myself The rock turned around and said, no hiding place. Hello now. You can't hide from God. You can't hide from yourself. You can't hide from the truth. You take you with you wherever you go. You take your consciousness wherever you go. And you experience life according to your consciousness. So don't hope for the world to change. Hope to change the way you conceive the earth and all that is in it. When you look at me, see yourself in expression. See God. Because what you think about me will come back to haunt you or to bless you. Because whatever you curse will curse you. And whatever you bless will bless you. The problem of xenophobia is the problem of living. We should be able to go anywhere and live in a happy state. But because we memorize hate and what to hate, wherever we go, we will see what we don't like. You move to a new neighborhood, and it's good. And suddenly you see the person you ran away come and buy a house next door. That's the opportunity that the universe has given you to bless. If not, you're going to have to move again. We keep running, going nowhere. Sometimes it's time to stop and take a look at yourself. And ask yourself, why is the universe always presenting the same thing over and over? Because that's the way I think. It's my thinking that produces what I see on the outside. Whatever is on the outside is naturally good, but I name it and experience whatever I name. We okay? Yes. Well, I think I'm finished. If you're okay, I'm finished. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Everybody say faithful, 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 faithful is our God. Everybody say faithful, 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 faithful is our God. Let me hear you say faithful, 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 faithful is our God. Say faithful, 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 faithful is our God. I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil stole from me, and I rejoice today, for I shall recover it all. Yes, I rejoice today, for I shall recover it all. Everybody say holy, 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 holy is our God. Let me hear you say holy, say holy, holy, holy is our God. Say holy, 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 holy is our God. Let me hear you say holy, 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 holy is our God. I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil stole from me, and I rejoice today, for I shall recover it all. Yes, I rejoice today, for I shall recover Everybody say Christ, 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 Christ is our God. Let me hear you say Christ, 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 Christ is our God. Let me hear you say Christ, 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 Christ is our God. Let me hear you say Christ, 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 Christ is our God. I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil stole from me. I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil stole from me. I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil's just from men. I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil's. Ladies, your turn.
I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil stole.
Everybody.
I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil stole from me.
I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil. Louder now.
I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil stole.
Richard, your turn. Give him a hand.
I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil stole.
Name with the ladies.
I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil stole.
Everyone.
I'm reaping the harvest God promised me. Take back what the devil stole.
Louder now.
I'm reaping the harvest God promised me.